Welcome to Idle Truth by Leif, where fame meets reality. In the glitter-soaked landscape of 1970s Hollywood, where every smile was polished and every spotlight unforgiving, a young boy stepped onto a stage he never asked for. Leif Garrett became a symbol of teens, youth, fame, and fantasy for millions around the world. But behind the posters, behind the magazine covers, behind the screams of adoring fans, there was another reality. When we talked about the whirlwind transition from actor to teen heartthrob, his words carried both pride and disbelief. Fame didn't knock on his door gently. It kicked it down with a smile and a hairstylist. Suddenly, he was everywhere. Magazines, talk shows, concert stages swarmed by screaming fans. His face sold posters faster than some artists sold records. Behind the smile was exhaustion. Behind the adoration was loneliness. Behind the image was a boy growing into a man who never got to choose who he was allowed to be. Leif talked about his childhood with an openness that felt disarming. The way he described growing up on film sets instead of playgrounds, knowing scripts before he knew how to handle the emotions inside him, it painted the picture of a little boy trying to understand a world that demanded he grow up fast. So fast, in fact, that he barely got the chance to be a child at all. He spoke about his mother, Carolyn, with a mixture of love and pain. She believed in him, pushed him, and guided him. But that guidance also came with the weight of expectation. Expectations no one his age should have to carry. Leif became not only a performer, but a provider, a role model, a brand, a product. And inside that whirlwind, he somehow lost track of who Leif was at his core. When he talked about becoming a teen idol, there was a bittersweetness in his words. Fans saw the smile, the hair, the charm, the posters taped to bedroom walls. But behind the scenes, he was overwhelmed, lonely, and searching for someone who understood him beyond the glitter and flashbulbs. Fame had a sharp edge, and though it brought him love from millions, it also carved pieces out of him that he's still trying to reclaim. Leif's voice grew heavy when we spoke about addiction. He didn't try to mask the pain or rewrite the timeline. He talked about the nights when silence was too loud, when expectations felt crushing, and when drugs seemed like the only relief he could grab onto. He spoke about the people he hurt, the moments he regrets, and the battles he's fought quietly, sometimes losing, sometimes winning, but always trying.
When the music industry came knocking, I was barely out of my teens. They said, "Leif, you could be the next David Cassidy, the next Donny Osmond." But I didn't want to be the next anyone, I just wanted to be me. They dressed me up, gave me songs, handed me fame like a costume, and overnight I became an idol. Screaming fans, flashing cameras, sold-out shows. It all happened so fast, I never had time to understand it. You can't process that kind of attention when you're 16. You just ride the wave and hope it doesn't drown you. It was intoxicating, thousands of fans, posters plastered on every wall, my songs climbing charts I never even dreamed of reaching. People called me a star, but inside I felt like an actor trapped in a role I couldn't quit. You see, fame gives you everything except a guidebook. It doesn't tell you how to handle loneliness when the crowds go home. It doesn't teach you how to sleep at night when the image you sell doesn't match the person you are. There's a strange thing about being idolized. It feels good at first. You think love equals applause, that adoration means acceptance, but fame is a mirror that only reflects what people want to see, not who you really are. And when you start believing your own reflection, you lose the truth. I was a kid in the center of chaos, money, attention, expectations. I had everything people said I should want, but inside I felt empty. It's like living in a movie that never ends. You're always on, always smiling, always perfect, always performing. But no one teaches you what happens when the camera cuts. I started slipping, late nights, bad company, wrong decisions disguised as freedom. Drugs came in quietly, like a friend offering comfort. At first it felt harmless, a way to escape the pressure, to silence the noise. But the thing about escape is, it never leads to freedom.
Leif Garrett became a symbol of teens, youth, fame, and fantasy for millions around the world. But behind the posters, behind the magazine covers, behind the screams of adoring fans, there was another reality. When we talked about the whirlwind transition from actor to teen heartthrob, his words carried both pride and disbelief. Fame didn't knock on his door gently. It kicked it down with a smile and a hairstylist. Suddenly, he was everywhere. Magazines, talk shows, concert stages swarmed by screaming fans. His face sold posters faster than some artists sold records. Behind the smile was exhaustion. Behind the adoration was loneliness. Behind the image was a boy growing into a man who never got to choose who he was allowed to be. Leif talked about his childhood with an openness that felt disarming. The way he described growing up on film sets instead of playgrounds, knowing scripts before he knew how to handle the emotions inside him, it painted the picture of a little boy trying to understand a world that demanded he grow up fast. So fast, in fact, that he barely got the chance to be a child at all. He spoke about his mother, Carolyn, with a mixture of love and pain. She believed in him, pushed him, and guided him. But that guidance also came with the weight of expectation. Expectations no one his age should have to carry. Leif became not only a performer, but a provider, a role model, a brand, a product. And inside that whirlwind, he somehow lost track of who Leif was at his core. When he talked about becoming a teen idol, there was a bittersweetness in his words.
Didn't have the parental guidance that I truly needed. I honestly wish that I had more discipline in my life. I truly, honestly wished I had somebody telling me no. It was when I was trying to resurrect the musical career, and all of my heroes in music were known to partake. And a lot of them, like, Keith Richards, any of the guys from the Stones, Aerosmith, Zeppelin, I thought being categorized in that sort of group would maybe further or help my moving on to the rock and roll, the real rock and roll. I think 3 months in county jail was pretty much, that's a great photo right there, isn't it? That's a good one. That haunts the hell out of me, that photograph, I gotta say.
For good.
And you cannot get sober unless you want to quit. But you have to check out the things that made you start using in the first place, and then want to not do it.
Fans saw the smile, the hair, the charm, the posters taped to bedroom walls. But behind the scenes, he was overwhelmed, lonely, and searching for someone who understood him beyond the glitter and flashbulbs. Fame had a sharp edge, and though it brought him love from millions, it also carved pieces out of him that he's still trying to reclaim. Leif's voice grew heavy when we spoke about addiction. He didn't try to mask the pain or rewrite the timeline. He talked about the nights when silence was too loud, when expectations felt crushing, and when drugs seemed like the only relief he could grab onto. He spoke about the people he hurt, the moments he regrets, and the battles he's fought quietly, sometimes losing, sometimes winning, but always trying.
Soon I wasn't in control. I wasn't Leif the artist or Leif the person. I was Leif the product, and the product was breaking down. The headlines started changing. As you all know, the same magazines that once called me a star now called me a scandal. Majority of the same fans who once screamed my name turned away. I was no longer teen idol Leif Garrett. I was fallen star Leif Garrett. And you know what hurts more than losing fame? Losing yourself in the process. I remember nights sitting alone, staring at the floor, wondering how I got there. I had money, fame, everything I thought I wanted, and yet I felt like nothing. That's the thing about fame, it can fill your pockets but empty your soul. The worst moment came with a crash, literally. I was young, reckless, and under the influence when I got behind the wheel. My best friend was with me that night. The accident left him paralyzed. One moment changed both our lives forever. I've carried that guilt ever since. No amount of apologies or tears could undo what happened. And that's when I learned what real consequences feel like. They don't fade when the headlines do. They live inside you. After that, I spiraled. More drugs, more arrests, more pain. I became a ghost of myself, trapped in a cycle of self-destruction. People I loved tried to help, but I didn't know how to be helped. I thought I was punishing myself, but I was really just running from truth. It took years before I realized the truth doesn't go away. It waits. It waits for you to stop hiding, to stop pretending, to finally look in the mirror and say, I need help. That moment, the one where I finally broke down, that was the beginning of change. And it didn't come with lights or cameras. It came in silence. Just me sitting alone, finally admitting I was lost. That's when the healing began.
There were moments of immense support and love, but also moments shaped by pressure, responsibility, and emotional distance. Being the primary earner in the family from such a young age came with weight that many adults would struggle to carry, let alone a teenager still learning who he was. That financial and emotional burden created tensions that would follow him into adulthood, and which, as he expressed with striking vulnerability, contributed to some of the choices he made later in life. Which brings us to one of the most difficult but important parts of Leif Garrett's story, his struggles with addiction. This was perhaps the part of our previous interview that carried the most emotional gravity. He didn't shy away from it. He didn't sugarcoat it. He talked about the environment of the entertainment industry at the time, the accessibility of drugs, the pervasive culture of partying, and the lack of boundaries or guidance for a teenager who was simultaneously wealthy, famous, and painfully unprepared for the darker side of success. Leif traced his addiction back to moments of loneliness, confusion, and the pressure to maintain an unnatural level of perfection. Drugs became, as he described it, a refuge, a way to calm the noise, to soothe the expectations, to quiet the anxiety of constantly performing. But what began as occasional escape quickly grew into dependency, one that spiraled out of control and left lasting consequences on his career, his relationships, and his health. One of the most heartbreaking parts of our discussion came when he talked about the infamous car accident, an event that has followed him through life, both legally and emotionally. It was clear that this moment remains one of deep regret and sorrow. He spoke about accountability, about pain, about the lives altered by a single moment, and about how that event became a pivot point, one that forced him to confront his addiction and the direction his life had taken.
So, when I finally faced myself, there wasn't much left of the idol everyone used to know. No more glossy photos, no sold-out tours, no fans waiting outside the hotel, just me, broken, scared, and stripped of everything fake. And I think that's where real life begins. Not when you're winning, but when you have nothing left to hide behind. The first step was admitting I couldn't do it alone. Addiction isn't something you beat by pretending you're strong. You beat it by being honest, brutally honest with yourself. Rehab wasn't easy, which I meant say, it's not the kind of place you go to find peace. It's the place you go to face war. The war inside your own mind. I had to confront years of pain I'd buried under fame and drugs. And that's not pretty. It's not glamorous. It's just raw survival. And thanks to my mama and a host of others who stood and supported me during this difficult time of my life. There were moments I wanted to give up, moments I thought I'd never be clean. But somewhere in that darkness, there was a small spark, a tiny whisper saying, "You're not done yet." That whisper became my lifeline. I started rebuilding piece by piece. Every apology I made, every truth I faced, every temptation I resisted, it all mattered. It didn't fix everything, but it helped me live again. You know, when you're young and famous, people treat you like a god. When you fall, they treat you like a ghost. But somewhere between the two, you realize you were never meant to be either. You were meant to be human. And being human means making peace with the mess. I had to forgive myself, not to erase what I'd done, but to learn from it. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about accepting that the past can't be changed, but the future can.
Leif Garrett has lived a life that pushed him to the brink many times, but he keeps choosing to step back from the edge. The teen idol era of the late 1970s was an intense, concentrated phenomenon. It required a kind of polished, packaged perfection. Managers, agents, record labels, and marketing teams cultivated not just songs and albums, but images, posters, fan club mailings, and carefully orchestrated public appearances. Leif became the face of that machine. His, as they said then, was a marketable look, and the industry had very clear ideas about how that look should be presented. He described the fast pace of those years, the concerts, the magazine covers, the constant travel, and the pressure to remain perpetually upbeat, and how all of this unfolded at an age when most kids are still figuring out who they are. And that was one of the central themes that emerged as he reflected on his life, the challenge of forming an identity when the world insists it already knows who you are. For Leif, that pressure didn't just come from the public, but from the industry professionals whose livelihoods depended on sustaining his image. There was always a sense of being shaped, molded, and managed, of performing a version of himself that didn't always match his internal reality. I remember him leaning back slightly as he recalled the fan events, the concerts where his screams nearly drowned out the music, the surreal moments when he realized he had become an icon to millions of young people. On the surface, it looked like the ultimate dream: fame, adoration, success. Yet beneath it was a growing tension, a battle between the expectations placed on him and the natural desire to live authentically, to develop his own voice, his own choices, and eventually, his own freedom. One of the most powerful segments of our first conversation revolved around his family dynamics. Leif's relationship with his mother, his sister, and other figures in his life was not a simple one.
In the 1970s, Leif Garrett was a successful singer, a TV and movie actor, and a teenage heartthrob. He exploded onto the music scene with a string of hit songs, screaming fans, fame, and fortune. But Leif lost it all when he began drinking and taking drugs. After years on the wrong side of the law, Leif has turned his life around.
I hate the music, but people say I sing my song so well.
Every decade unearths a new teen heartthrob who sends pulses racing.
Well, you ain't never gonna learn how you ain't no real.
For 50s Bobby Soxers, it was all about Elvis and his gyrating hips. More recently, Justin Bieber's turned millions of teens into believers. But if you were a teen in the 70s, no one's star shone as brightly as this satin-clad, blonde-haired glam pop singer. Leif Garrett played to sold-out stadiums. His posters lined the walls of teenage girls' bedrooms, and his smiling face covered countless magazine covers.
A bushy, bushy blonde hair. Surfing USA.
But while Leif's world looked glamorous from the outside, it was very different inside his bubble.
Is the hardest moment when you go from being on stage with tens of thousands of screaming fans and the adulation, being alone in your hotel room later in silence? Is that the...
Can I tell you that it's amazing. You're the only person that's ever hit upon that, that ever asked me that. Because when I first started out in music, When I was going on the road at 15, 16 years old, I was spending nights alone in these huge suites. So I spent a lot of time by myself in hotel rooms crying. I mean, I really did.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I wanted to be home, and I wanted, you know, maybe my mom around or whatever, or somebody, you know, that was family.
Thank you very much again for coming on the show, Shirley Stopper.
He had the world at his feet, but like a lot of teen idols, the darker side of fame grabbed hold of the performer.
When did you first try drugs? How old?
Well, I first smoked pot when I was, God, what was I, like 14, 15?
Leif was on a path to self-destruction, and soon his reckless lifestyle would catch up with him. In 1979, he was drunk and on drugs when he crashed his Porsche. Leif suffered contusions and a mild concussion. His passenger and best friend was left a paraplegic. Leif was 5 days shy of his 18th birthday.
We were both partying very hard, and we were doing things that we should not have been doing and driving. But
It would have been tough. It would have been so tough.
yeah, you know, it's, wow.
Over the years, Leif has had more encounters with the law.
I got pulled over by police at the LA subway station. And I went down the steps, and then I heard the one guy saying, "Who was that?" And then the other gentleman says, "Oh, that's him?" And then all of a sudden, when I got down the bottom platform, I heard like 3 guys come stomping down, and I knew it. I was like, "Oh God, I'm gonna be questioned." And I actually had something on me, and I said I didn't.
Leif turned to television to get clean.
You went the public route, the celebrity rehab with Dr. Drew.
I did not want to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? It's been in the press getting high.
Yeah.
Let's do the press of not getting high. And ever since then, it's been high and dry. So, but that's not what really made the change. You know, that was part of it, because I don't subscribe to going to the meetings and stuff. Whenever I went to the meetings, I wanted to use afterwards, because everybody sits there and they, oh my God, you remember when, how we had the best time doing this, and we did this, and how great it was, and I hooked up with blah blah and blah blah, and it was like, oh my God, it made you want to go out and go score right away. I didn't dig that, so it was really more than anything my own, I guess, realization that if you look back and you look at the people who haven't survived and stuff, that it's for my own survival. It was something that I went through only because not only was I exposed to it, but it was around me, and it was offered to me, and I thought it was cool, and I thought it was right, and it then became a medication to escape. But the thing that's the most important thing is to deal with the demons that make you want to use it. So if you can deal with those things, then you can stop the other.
During his career, Leif made millions of dollars. He revealed to me that he never saw most of it.
And I also got ripped off, don't get me wrong. I mean, I got raped by management.
What, you woke up one day and found you didn't have what you thought you had?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're talking millions.
Wow.
Leif has spent decades in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, and he has advice for artists like Justin Bieber on how not to follow in his footsteps.
Don't believe your own publicity. Don't be a victim of what people say about you, make you feel euphoric when you know that you're just a human being and that you are as human and real as just anybody else. You know, you may do something that affects people and makes them feel good, and that's a great thing and that's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't make you a god. It doesn't make you a demigod or anything like that, although we know that I really am a demigod. Right? I tell you that all the time, don't I?
And your team are instructed to genuflect in front of you as you walk in the room. What's the best thing about your life right now?
Best thing about my life right now is that I've gotten over addiction. You know, we go through everything for a reason.
What do you think the reason was?
I didn't have to work for anything. It was just sort of given to me because of the way I looked and things like that. and I never really felt that I earned it, you know, and I wasn't really a singer to begin with. I became a good singer, I think, and I think that I became a good stage performer.
Do you think you earned it now? Do you look back
I
and
do.
go, hang on, I worked really hard?
I really do.
Yeah.
Everybody's got surfing USA.